Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard. Hello. I am Rachel, and welcome to what is kind of sort of a revamped show that Richard and I tried a while back, Rachel and Friends. So, as you know, I'm the poem reader here on SBTV, and I also do cards and everything, but bi-weekly, meaning, well, how to put this? Every other time I am on SPTV, Rachel and Friends will be here, and I will be interviewing somebody that I know that is in the paranormal field or another medium, another psychic, whatever you would like to say, just somebody that has caught my attention even. And that is what we're doing today. Now, will I be providing readings? If for some unknown reason I get called to pull a card for somebody that just flashes across the screen for me, because I don't actually get to see everything that is in the chat. Just I have my own little version of what is in front of me, because we're going to be conducting an interview today. So if I am kind of pulled or drawn to someone, I will actually say, hey, Richard, I would like to pull a card for someone, okay? But tonight, everybody, we have a special guest. His name is Joey Madia. He has 13 years of experience in paranormal investigation. As we're talking, everybody, hold on. He has written so many books, and I personally have been so very, very busy, but I want to talk to him about his whole take on Sherlock Holmes and his whole take on Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and all these major, major books. And he has written so many books. He has been on so many, very many paranormal investigations. He's written screenplays. He's an actor. He's a director. He's done escape rooms. There's even an escape room in Scotland, I believe, that he was a part of. And so everybody, let's welcome Joey Madia, please. He also has his own, is it a podcast yet, Joey, or is it just an online thing? Okay, well, we will ask him that when he comes on board. So let's welcome him on board, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Rachel. Joey. Hello there. Long time no hear, right?
Yeah.
So, is your show Into the Outer Realms, which covers UFOs, conspiracy theories, the rabbit holes that everyone talks about, MIBs. Is that a podcast yet, or is it just an online show? Okay. Can he just answer if it's a podcast yet? Okay, Joey.
It's actually a live stream, so we do video and audio, then it gets picked up for just audio elsewhere.
Okay, all right, thank you, Joey. All right, so who do we have on tonight? Hello, Terry. Thank you. I'm trying. It's 80 degrees here. Thanks for all your hard work, too, Terry. Hey, Stace. Hello, Stace. Thank you for your work, too.
Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for a slightly different format than you're used to, but we'll keep it interesting, Rachel and I.
I hope so. Hey, Regan. I hope you're doing okay, Regan. Good to see you here. Hey, Mary. From Ireland. Wow.
Oh, nice.
Zanelle. I'm going to pronounce it Zanelle. Might be Zanelli. I'm not too sure, but I butcher names. Hello.
I just did a presentation for South Africa for a group down there, the Truth Seekers, 2 weeks ago.
Wow. Good for you, Joey. Hi, Sandra. Angela, hello to you. Vianello, hello. Love the name. Tracy, I should say. You have your name backwards there, lady. Hey, Jill.
Gil.
Angela.
Nice, Isle of Wight.
Mm-hmm. Love and light. Love and light to you, too.
Yeah,
Lorraine.
Hello, Lorraine, good evening.
Oh, thank you, Regan. Everyone's saying it looks summery. I wasn't really trying to, but thank you. Hey, hi there again, Kay. I remember you from last time I were on. And Kelly, hello to you. Wendy, lovely to
Hi,
see you
Wendy.
too. Oh, thank you, Lorraine. You too. Good evening to you too, Lorraine. All right. Chaos is ensuing, everybody. All right. So, Joey. Oh, and Love and Light is from Texas. Yay!
All right, international.
Another American. Woohoo! Right. Oh, and Tracy Vianello is also from South Africa. We see there. Wow.
Excellent.
All right. It's okay, Tracy. Don't you worry about it. Figured it out. Hey, Millie. Long time no see. All right. So let's get down to it so that we can get this show on the road. Okay. So, Joey, we're going to have, questions and everything on this little side panel for us to see. So, everybody, if you do have a question for Joey, just ask it because it's going to be in front of us. This is a Q&A kind of experience, so it's open to everybody, okay? Joey knows a lot of information about a lot of different things. Like you've mentioned, if you've heard me mention rabbit hole or conspiracy theory, and I won't talk about it, Joey knows all about it, okay? Joey knows all about it. So I don't even know, where would you like to start, Joey? I mean, how did you get into, let's just do it this way. How did you get into this field of like the paranormal and psychic area and spirituality, a whole big ball of wax? How did you start questioning things?
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's two different questions. So,
Oh no, it is not.
I started questioning things when I was 8 years old. No, when I was 10 years old. I was
Okay.
10 years old and I was raised Catholic. Looking back now, when I tell everyone, they say, when did you first get it? I grew up in this. Catholicism is very mystical. There's angels and there's miracles and there's saints and there's resurrection and transmogrification, all these things. But when I was 10 years old, I made confession. So I went for my first confession and I said the little things that I did that a 10-year-old might do. And I said, Father, while I have you here, can we talk about Adam and Eve and the dinosaurs? And, I'm 10 years old.
Yeah.
And this voice comes through the darkness and says, well, Joseph, it's just a matter of faith. And I couldn't do that. So I'm working on a book and I'm working on a special series for my live stream that I call Parallels and Patterns, My Lifelong Quest for Answers. So it really started when I was 10 years old. I had a very interesting experience when I was 16 involving a Ouija board, where
okay.
a couple of girls, not me directly, but two girls in the arts department in our school, in the performing arts department.
It's always the arts department.
Is it? Okay, that's interesting.
So
they bring in this Ouija board, and what I came to later in life, it unfolded like your typical 3-act play for a Ouija board. So there's a little pioneer girl, and she makes friends with them, but then she's on the run from the person. Then suddenly the person who's chasing her down is communicating, but then he was the little girl all along. Well, they get so caught up in this. They're 15, 16 years old. I'm all of 16, 17. They stop coming to school. They're locking themselves away in the basement playing with the Ouija board all day. So my buddy Lou and a couple of other of us Jersey Sicilians, we're going to put an end to this. This has got far enough. So we go over to the house. Word spreads like it's the Jets and the Sharks or something. And it's like 30 people in this basement. And there's candles on the ledge all around. And they're doing the thing, and the spirit that's coming through is getting more agitated. And me and my 17-year-old Sicilian Jersey hubris say, well, if you're so powerful, do something to us.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And all that I can tell you is that for a split second, it felt like my heart and the earth stopped, just stopped. All motion stopped. And some of the candles flickered. And that really set me on my path. I almost died in a sailboat like 5 years later in the open ocean unexpected storm. And I liken both of those things. You realize how small you are, how helpless you can be if you are not respectful of forces, natural and elemental and otherwise. So I think that was very important. And then really nothing till I was about 30 and I met Tanya, and the circumstances of that were very much a love story where we were brought together across time and place. We fell in love and were married within a handful of months, and now it's 25 years later against all odds, really.
Now, Tanya is Tanya Madia, Joey's wife. She's a psychic medium that I've worked with before. So, yeah just in case you were wondering, who's Tanya?
I'm sorry. Yeah, so my wife, Tanya, and then our child, Joe, was born, and Joe is also a very gifted psychic medium, very, very gifted. So much so that she has many, many health problems. She's very shamanic in a lot of ways. And the doctors are often confounded by her tests. She just had a sleep test. They were trying to get rid of sleep apnea. And they said, man, your heart and your neurology, your brain waves just go nuts every night. And she said, I'm in other worlds dealing with all kinds of things. And, you know, what do you expect? Between the two of them now for the past 22 years, there's such a psychic battery that every place we live, not to just, this is not to be a commercial, but this is one of our books, Roommates from Beyond, How to Live in a Haunted Home. And we wrote this book because every home we've lived in is haunted simply because Tanya and Joe are so aware of it. But what really set on the path was 2009. We went to a very small town that has a very famous cryptid. I don't know if the UK, European audiences...
Now, can you describe, in case people do not know what a cryptid is, can you please describe what a cryptid is?
So a cryptid is some kind of flesh and blood being or manifests that way, but it's probably interdimensional, whether it be a Bigfoot or a Chupacabra, or in our case, Mothman. Not that we saw Mothman, but so they're somewhere, sometimes like a bird, or sometimes like an animal, or sometimes a crossbred kind of thing. So distinct from, say, a dark entity, or distinct from a ghost or a spirit. It's another category of being, again, like Bigfoot and so on, Chupacabra and all. We went to this little town that was very famous for the Mothman, which is a whole story in and of itself. But
it's in West Virginia, right?
Yes, right on the Ohio River. This being Mothman showed up in November of 1966, exactly 13 months later to the day, December 15th, 1967, a bridge over the Ohio River, the Silver Bridge, so named because of its color, collapsed and killed 46 people. And Mothman has been inextricably linked to the bridge, although the bridge was clearly a mechanical failure. Poor craftsmanship, time, you know, West Virginia, all of that there.
But it was more seen as kind of like Mothman's appearance. Anytime he does show up, it's kind of seen as forewarning, right?
Yes.
Like, okay.
Yes.
We do have a question, Joey.
Oh, okay.
Stace. Okay. It says some believe that angels have no gender. The energy they feel we need at the time is what we see. So are aliens, in your opinion, the same? And I'm paraphrasing there. And if they are, why does the universe make earthlings have gender? That's a deep one. That's a deep one there.
It's a wonderful question, and I've given this actually a lot of thought. Tanya does call upon angel energy. And it is oftentimes, you know, because of the circumstances, it feels very masculine. So we put a name on it, Michael, right? A personification. So as a writer, I deal a lot of symbology and all of that. I believe it's the same with aliens. Tanya and I did have an abduction experience during that Mothman time. And I couldn't say that they were male or not male. They were complicated. Why I think human beings still have the genders, we seem to, at least in conversation, at least in Generation Z, are moving away or pushing against this idea. So I think we're just at the evolutionary level now, where it was practical to
Hmm.
have the X and Y chromosomes and this and that. If human beings survive long enough into the future, hopefully not through robotics and transhumanism, but through natural evolution, perhaps we won't be that anymore. But I certainly think in native cultures where they talk about two spirit and so
Oh
on and
yeah.
so forth,
Hmm.
we have already transgressed this energetically, if not physically, in a growing part of the population. I think where it's simply not needed, it becomes dysfunctional.
All right. Now, would you say that the two spirit in First Nation culture or indigenous culture here in the States, would you say that that would be the equivalent to non-binary?
It seems to be, but we always want to be careful with cultural
Right.
specificities.
I'm just trying to clarify for people who might not be
Yeah,
used to hearing the term two soul. That's all.
yeah. So two spirit, I would say, is non-binary. Yeah, the two
Yeah.
spirits of
All
masculine
right.
and feminine in
All
conjunction.
twisted up into one big. That's
Yeah,
who you are. Hmm.
yep,
Absolutely. So about Mothman. Now
yeah,
you worked with Rosemary Guiley, right? Is that her
yes,
name? I
yes.
hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Mhm.
Now Rosemary Guiley was pretty much the go-to on Mothman. She was a psychic medium in her own right, very, very, very gifted. Mentored Tanya a little bit and
Both of us,
herself. Yeah.
both of us for a decade,
Hmm.
before we
So
really went out on our own. Yeah.
So, what have you heard recently about Mothman? I heard something a little bit about Mothman being sighted in Chicago, and I saw this on TikTok, and I came to you with it because I saw it, and then when I went to go find it again, it was gone, and
Hmm.
I still can't find it. So, my wonderings is that are they trying to keep it hush hush? Because anytime somebody does see Mothman, it's a forewarning of something. And if you are unfamiliar, if you're not stateside, there is a lot of stuff going on in Chicago right now. A lot of upheaval, a lot of political stuff going on. I'm just gonna say it, chaos. Okay, there's
Yeah.
chaos in Chicago, unfortunately. So I was wondering if you had heard any inklings of that, or what was the last known sighting on in black and white paper that you can point to and say that's the last time Mothman was seen.
Well, Mothman is seen at times internationally, and I also think too, if you take into account that Mothman is linked to the Garuda,
Hmm.
which is a Hindu, harbinger, and also the Thunderbird, which is an indigenous or First Nations
Hmm.
harbinger here in the States. Um, I think that people see Tanya and I saw something very similar, but determined intuitionally that we didn't see Mothman. So there was a flap, as we call it, which is a very odd word, right? UFO flap or a cryptid flap or whatever. In Chicago, I'm going to say in 2019,
Hmm.
2020, but it was very controversial. Some of the people who were involved, the amount of sightings, the veracity. So, Rachel, I missed that when it flared up on TikTok. It must not have been there very long. So you might be right, or it was taken down because there was so much pushback. Chicago is a very complicated place.
Hmm.
Um, but Mothman, something like Mothman was seen around Chernobyl, other, before the tsunami.
Hmm.
Um,
In
it,
Indonesia.
yeah. So it is, I believe, a really real phenomenon. Now, why is it tasked with being a harbinger for coming into our dimension to try to warn us about upcoming events? I don't think anybody knows that. I don't think anybody will know that.
Hmm.
But there does seem to be a correlation. The only thing I want to say is that they're harbinging, they are not causing. And
Right.
that's where it gets really. Some people say, "Oh, Mothman and the Men in Black and blah blah were on the bridge that day, or working on the bridge, or near the bridge." I don't believe that any of that is true.
Let's see, we have Mary here from Ireland saying that she's never heard of Mothman. So could you describe Mothman?
Yeah, I would say Mary Mothman is kind of our Nessie. It's kind of our Nessie. It's sort of a superstar. The amalgam of descriptions over the years puts it at about 7 foot tall. It has a big neck, big head with really no neck that sits on a body with two big wings, 3 to 4 foot wings, and giant red eyes. And then the color variations of the body probably have to do with the time of day and shadow and things like that, but somewhere between grayish, brownish, or black. It's typically Mothman. If you see Mothman depicted, it's black, typically.
Except for the statue.
Oh, yeah, which is silver. And also has buns and abs of steel. So,
yeah.
It's artistic license.
With those big red eyes. Big red eyes.
And for Mary in Ireland, I would say Mothman is like one of our Blarney stones. His butt and stomach are getting rubbed shiny.
On the statue.
Yeah, it's a real pilgrimage.
Not on Mothman himself. Okay.
No, he keeps moving. No, he was clocked at over 100 miles an hour at one of the earliest sightings. So,
what was one of the earliest sightings?
So that was two couples in their late teens, early 20s, called the Mallets and the Scarberries. And they were out in a place called the TNT area, and where they literally manufactured and stored TNT in the 1940s. And by the 1960s, it was sort of like a lover's lane, cruising, dragon, kid hangout thing. And they were going down Route 62 there, and this thing came at them. And they were in Rogers' 57 Chevy, a very souped up 57 Chevy, and they clocked it at over 100 miles an hour. And they were deemed to be credible. One woman, a couple of days later, dropped her 2-year-old. She was so scared.
Sorry, Richard. Okay. Oh, there we have a picture of Mothman on the screen for everybody. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
There he is. That's as close as any.
Looks more of a gargoyle. Looks a little bit like a gargoyle there. Yeah.
A bit. You know what? When Tanya and I had and we typically don't talk about this because it's sort of an appendage to what's a very heavy story of car going transparent and spinning around and me winding up in one alternate universe and her in another and all. But when we got back to the Low Hotel, the famous hotel there, she saw a very Mothman-like creature perching on the hotel. And it did look very gargoyle. So there you go, Rachel.
All right. Well, I love gargoyles, so.
I do too.
I love them. So let's talk about more rabbit holes here, conspiratorial kind of stuff. Let's spice it up a little bit. So what is your hottest topic at the moment that you just are really trying to really find as much information about?
Right. I want to encourage everyone to get beyond this idea of conspiracy theory. But if we break it down like so many things in language, a conspiracy is simply a group of people getting together to do something in secret. Okay, we can admittedly say that there have been people who got to get, we call them the CIA and the NSA and MI5 and whatever, Israeli intelligence. It's all over the world. You name it, it's there. A theory is simply that. It's not a fact, it's a theory. So the fact that conspiracy, but I call them fringe theories. I talk to them as outside the boundaries of normal conversation. But the biggest thing right now is false UFO disclosure in the United States.
Yeah, that's blue beam theory or blue beam.
Blue beam is part of it. This idea that we can holographically project, right? That gets into some very interesting things. That gets into Wernher von Braun, who was the head of NASA, founded NASA, but who was also a member of the SS and a Nazi who hung people from cranes when they didn't work fast enough.
That's crazy, isn't it, everybody?
Yeah, and that is not a conspiracy theory, Operation Paperclip. There have been great books written about it. So Wernher von Braun, on his deathbed, confided in his a secretary, his personal assistant, that we would go through several things. There would be a manufactured Cold War, and that would keep the military-industrial complex going. Then there would be religious wars. Then there would be asteroids, and then there would be aliens. Mm-hmm. So we seem to be at the age of aliens. You know, Rachel, having spoken to so many people who have been abducted, who have had contact experiences, spoken to people in the military or insider access to the military about what happens at nuclear facilities and on nuclear submarines. Oh, yeah. There is really no proof that we have ever actually been, quote unquote, attacked by an alien race ever. Now, where you really get to the weird conspiracy fringe stuff is the Draconians and the Greada Treaty with Ike. I'm going to be doing a whole episode on that in a couple of months.
President Eisenhower.
President Eisenhower, general, very big deal during World War II, became president. And ironically, supposedly Ike disappeared for 3 days out in California. He was visiting an Air Force base, and apparently he signed a treaty for advanced technology. 1954.
Just one moment here, Joey. Angela is saying, I believe the government is going to announce a fake invasion.
Yes, I have been warning about this.
That's Project Bluebeam.
That is Project Bluebeam.
And she also states that aliens stop nuclear attacks and missiles.
Angela is absolutely right. They will shut them down as a warning and turn them back on just to say, hey, we can do this. Hey, you're not in completely control of your own dangerous hardware. But this whole false disclosure thing, my big mission is to make people aware of Bluebeam. Folks, you probably remember something very bizarre that happened a couple months ago here in the States, where we were shooting down balloons and things with multi-million-dollar missiles and crazy nonsense, and generals talking about, oh, we don't know what they are. They're not, maybe not of this earth. We can't rule that out. The feeling in the community is that they're gearing up, because this keeps, you know, yes, there's Russia and the Ukraine, but warfare is going to change. I think that 2024 is going to be a major year that we look back on and we go, wow, that's where they implemented it. You know, we have the election coming up. I think we're going to go to a digital currency.
They've already established that. Yeah. In New York City, in the subways, they actually, I don't know if Joe knows about this or not, because she's in New Jersey, right? So she might go over to Manhattan and stuff. But anyway, I guess that you put your money into a machine and it will pump out a Visa or a MasterCard for you, like one of those prepay ones, so that they're trying to get rid of cash already, go to digital. But a little moment here, Stace is asking another question. And this is something that I've often wondered, and I was on a cruise ship, and we went over the Bermuda Triangle. So her question is about the Bermuda Triangle, Joey. And it says, is it a CIA secret program, or is it really a porthole for alien abduction, in your opinion?
Wow. So I do believe that it is electromagnetically anomalous, and it causes a lot of things, and is most certainly, if not a giant portal, then has pockets of portals. And I think it has to do with that electromagnetic. I can only speak to the CIA and say, in any instance where there has been any kind of psychic, paranormal, extra scientific phenomenon, they try to weaponize it. Yep. So I'm sure they have studied it. And I'm sure they're also part of the massive debunking movement about it. Last year, there was some guy, professional cynic, right? I don't traffic with the word skeptic as being someone who doesn't believe. I am a skeptic. I'm a skeptic because I look at everything with an open mind and then apply all my experience, all my tools, history. So this cynic, this professional shill, saying that there's nothing to it, blah, 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 and the evidence does not support that. And dollars to donuts, the CIA has studied that phenomenon.
Well, what I find interesting is that, when was it, perhaps a year ago or so, off the coast of Florida, I believe it might have been in the Gulf of Mexico, the water was literally spewing fire out of it.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? And
Yeah,
at first, they had all the military there, and I mean, from all over the place, all different of every branch of the military was there. And now, if you look that up, they're saying, oh, it was an underwater pipeline that had a leak, and then all of the military boats and all of the helicopters and everything that were there for it, they're not there in the photos anymore. Says a lot. Says a lot.
And we see that with everything from Antarctica to, you know, a very anomalous place, you know, I've done shows on. These are terrific questions, and Angel, I'm glad it's enlightening.
I always said the Greys are us in the future coming back to see what happened. Interesting. Because we killed our planet due to greed, and the survivors managed to evolve and adapt as a dimensional paradigm. That's an interesting concept.
That is.
I know, Richard.
My understanding of the big-headed almond-eyed Greys is that they're kind of like worker drones, and may not even be flesh and blood, so to speak. But, you know, I have to be completely honest with you. I always look at all of the possibilities, but us surviving long enough to come back and check up on ourselves as time travelers, that's the one that I struggle with the most. That is not to say I dismiss it, and I certainly would never say about any of these subjects, no, that is not possible. I will say this, it very much jives with any channelers who talk about these things and talk about they've come from a race that's since been destroyed or destroyed their DNA, or that's maybe why the hybridization and the abduction happened. It does jive. So who's to say? There have been some time travelers that have come back. And I mean, what about the 1897 airship flap, right? That was so odd. They spoke a gibberish language, but then they learned how to speak English, and they were all through the United States for months and months. And then there was the Aurora, Texas windmill crash, where supposedly there's a gray buried in that cemetery. So it could very well be. It could very well be. And
but aren't the Greys kind of the worker bees for the Palladians, though?
I don't know specifically who they're for. They may be for the Zeta Reticulans, which would be sort of more in line with Betty and Barney. But they do seem to be drone kind of. They don't talk. They don't psychically communicate. And they usually are, with the Pleiadians or the praying mantises, or going back to an observation from a little bit ago from one of the viewers. Seems to be very female, very tall, very beautiful. Whitley Strieber talks about, falling in love with her and feeling like he was cheating on his wife. And they all seem to play different roles.
And what was the name of Whitley Strieber's book?
Communion.
Communion. That is a go-to, everybody. If you are interested in UFO or ufology or any of that Whitley Strieber is the go-to for that. That book it will rock you. It really will. It will rock you.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Angela, I was actually going to bring that up. Angela's bringing up flat Earth.
Ooh.
Question mark. So this is where I'm going to interject a little something. Have you heard about Antarctica and how there is the ice wall?
Yes.
And on the other side of the ice wall, they say that that's where you can actually tell that if you are a flat earther. I'm not going to judge. I'm open-minded here, everybody. But if you are a flat earthers are now saying that is definitively where you can see that the earth is flat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, personally, I'm like, I need more proof than this, because I've had 50 plus years on this planet of it being a round planet. But flat Earth. Yeah. She also said, sorry, delete if you want. She added that too.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to. Yeah.
Sure.
Mm,
Yeah, that's very true. Very true,
yeah.
Richard. hmm
If I
Richard is just talking about how people will say that the Earth is flat, but they don't doubt that all the other planets in the universe are round. Why is that? So that's good way to put it, Richard. Very good way to
Yeah.
put it.
First of all, I applaud you for not deleting it because I think, you know, there's a lot of people who my feeling and I don't at the risk of offending any flat earthers out there because we don't know everything.
That's right.
Um, but I do wonder with science and everything and pictures from space and all sort of countervening it, but for people to invest in it so much, it does say something that life on this planet has gotten so confusing, so complicated
hmm
that you would be drawn to theories that are difficult and really, really complex and hard to prove. And that's what's astonishing to me. We should stop and look at that and say,
hmm
how does someone become a flat earther? You know, but there's also hollow earth theory, right? And that goes all the way
Yeah.
back, and
hmm
hyperborea and all of that. And for every scientific thing that says no, it's this hardcore and it's this, but then someone was just telling me that there are these huge pockets that are open
Yes.
pockets.
Yes. That one was found in China recently. The information got out recently, and it is miles and miles deep apparently. And there are creatures down there and trees, flora, fauna that nobody has ever seen. So that is something interesting. And Regan is saying, I always said I'm a flat earther who gets thrown to that round dimension often. That's Regan for you.
And yeah, if you could find a way to do both of them, I would do it because that's just a better experience than everyone else is getting.
So, what is your impression on what is going on in Antarctica right now, Joey?
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of activity and they're showing a lot of things. I am convinced that it is a portal, and it seems like the evidence points to the moon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Linda Moulton Howe did
Oh yeah,
probably
yeah.
2 years ago. Talk.
She's in case you don't know, she's really one of the go-to on ancient aliens on the History Channel here in the States. She's. Have you ever seen her in person, Joey? Like at any of the conventions or anything like that?
I have not. I've never met her. Rosemary had met her on several occasions. Linda got. You know, we were talking about disclosure, and in the 1980s, Linda really got pulled into the whole disclosure thing.
Mm-hmm.
Got a little bit played. Richard Doty at the Air Force Office of Information really did a job on her and other people. So
Mm-hmm. Now, Kelly McKeating, hi Kelly, it says, I believe it's where the aliens reside beyond the wall, which is why we cannot access the other side. Your opinion on that?
it could be. I mean, supposedly there's this black pyramid, and it goes down, and there are entranceways, and it might be an extension of that. Look, something was going on there for Germany and the Wehrmacht during World War II to expend all that time, money, energy to go to Antarctica while they're fighting a two-front war. Doesn't make sense. And then, of course, there was Operation High Jump with Admiral Byrd.
Admiral Byrd. That's what I was just going to bring up. Admiral Byrd.
Where they lost a
good... Didn't he go there twice, though?
Yes, he did. Yeah. Yeah, and there are the journals, and some people say the journals are a hoax, but he said that he was in an airplane. He was taken to captive and taken to an alternate dimension. And as a guy who was taken to an alternate dimension and had 2.5 hours of missing time, who am I to say no? That would be really weird. So, you know what's interesting, Rachel? I think that the more that some of us experience, the less we look like true believers. I don't know if it's so much true believer that you simply go, look, this happened to me. I sure as hell am not going to say, no, it didn't happen to you or something similar. So Antarctica, you know, has a weird, like, multinational treaty that was signed. It's an odd place. Oh, Buzz Aldrin went
Mm-hmm.
there. No, was it Buzz Aldrin or Edgar Mitchell? Darn it, I apologize.
I'm not. I thought it was Buzz Aldrin,
I
to be
think it
honest
was
with you.
Buzz, and he got real sick, and it was weird.
Mhm.
And then there are certain no-fly zones, like over this weird
Yeah.
trench. But
Hmm.
people got super sick, and everybody who goes to Antarctica has to have a pocket full of radiation pills.
Hmm.
That's also interesting.
Hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But
Now this is
apparently,
where I'm going
yeah,
to interrupt you again, Joey, because
yeah, go
you
ahead.
have so much to talk about. You get
I
so
know.
excited. I know
I know.
you. I know you.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I enjoy talking to you. I really do. Um, so when it comes to what's going on dimensionally, we're talking about dimensions. We're talking about ufology, different planets, all this other stuff. How do you think that this kind of parallels with spirituality and spiritualism? There is a direct parallel here because there are, like in Vedic, Hindu, all this reincarnation belief that goes across the board, but we also have to entertain the idea that there are parallel dimensions, so that everything in quantum mechanics, everything is happening at the same time in different dimensions. So they're just different versions of you in these other dimensions. And if we do think of Antarctica as being kind of one of those dimensional portals, right? And with the moon included in that topic, okay, because there's a lot of theories about the moon as well. Whoo, are there ever?
Yeah.
um, how do you think that psychic mediums, spiritualism, whether it be UK or US based spiritualism, how do you think that phenomenon, I'm going to call it phenomenon, kind of aligns with what we're talking about? They're not, they seem so very far apart, but they're pretty close if you think about it.
I think they have to be because it explains an awful lot. So we use the term interdimensional
Mm-hmm.
um, as that ability to go through. I mean, that's what happened to Tanya and I in 2009. We got a glimpse of this being coming into our dimension from another dimension, and we were taken into perhaps yet another dimension. I think so. As you say, they're all lined up. So whether it's multiverse or string theory, science does have ideas about this. But I'm going to quote Tesla, as I often do. Everything
Yeah.
is energy, frequency, and vibration.
369.
Nice. Yeah. So perfect. So Tanya and Joe, well, a lot of people say that Tanya isn't even from here.
Mm-hmm.
So her frequency, her vibration, she can't wear a watch. She can't wear jewelry.
Yep.
Because they go funny. They stop
Yeah.
working. She has
Yeah.
a devil of a time with electronics.
My
Her
mom
phone
is the same. My mom is exactly the same. She will
Yeah.
blow a light bulb like boom. She just, all she has to do is touch it and it just.
Yeah, we met a woman. Her and her husband were over the road truckers. She came to us after a presentation and she said, every time I get angry, I blow the fuses in the truck and blow
Yeah.
out the headlights and all. I knew another woman who's since passed away from Parkersburg, West Virginia, and when she was a kid, when she passed under streetlights, they would flicker.
Mm-hmm.
So I do believe, depending on the density of your body, and this explains everything from shamans to mages and the amazing things that people can do, activating your kundalini, the chakra system.
Mm-hmm.
So we have all of this. Ingo Swann, the great remote viewer and artist, brilliant, who's come to Tanya with messages when she was working on these kinds of things, said that we have like 126 or something different sensing systems in our body.
Mm-hmm.
So I do believe that it's tapping into. I have periods where I can see ultra or interdimensional beings, ghosts, and spirits.
Mm-hmm.
And Tanya will be able to corroborate for me, which is always a nice moment for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have some clairaudience, so I'll hear it as well. But I do know when I'm doing the astral traveling, when I'm doing the lucid dreaming, I'm eating well, I'm doing a lot of quiet meditation and contemplation, I will travel to other, we talk to people about this. I know the difference between a dream and going to another dimension. I
Oh,
have a
yes.
whole nother life
Oh,
that
yeah.
I'm very to the
Mhm.
point um, where I wish I
Oh,
wrote
sorry,
like
I'm
him.
laughing
No,
because we
no.
have a comment here from Shelley. Is that Stephen King talking? It looks like him.
I wish I wrote like him. I'm trying to write like him. I love Stephen King. Thank you. That's a compliment. So, I know, and I have this life where I'll wake up in a panic here, and I'll say, "Where are those papers?" And I have a deadline today. And I have to go. No, no, wait a
Yep.
minute. I'm in dimension A as opposed to dimension B.
Right.
I think that accounts for a lot. That accounts for Rosemary was working on a theory of everything, and she said that everything was jinn, right from the Quran. There are other people who go, anybody who thinks that consciousness survives and you're talking to your grandmother or whatever, you're an idiot. It's some kind of trickster being from another dimension.
Mm,
I would be hard pressed to agree with any theory of everything.
yeah.
I think there are different dimensions, different frequencies, different and some of us are attuned to some. It's very interesting. We have a very, very dear friend, Tony Rotunda, and she runs the Buckland Museum of Magic here in the
Oh,
United
in
States.
Cleveland. In
Yeah,
Cleveland.
very cool place. And
Mhm.
Tony can only let's see now. I think it's when people are dying, but not when they're dead. And I have three great grandmothers who were all Sicilian. What they called one a mistress of the occult. They all had these things, which I think really
They all had their
manifest.
thing.
Yeah, they had their thing, but some could tell the future. Some could interpret dreams. Some knew when you were going to die, so they were almost like a strange form of the banshees in flesh and blood, where they would come and say, "Get ready, because
Mhm.
it's coming and it's going to happen to cousin Jimmy." And sure enough, it would happen to cousin Jimmy.
Now
So
we
I
have a comment here,
yeah,
Joey, from Stace, saying she always thought the Northern Lights were like an alien portal that helps life forms travel from one realm to ours, or like a time travel tunnel for time travelers. Interesting.
how could
Interesting.
you say no? How could you
Yeah.
say no? There are portals everywhere, and some I think are designed or encapsulated, like in Antarctica,
Hmm.
and possibly on the moon. And I think some are natural.
What,
Some are,
Richard? Yes,
yeah,
Stargate wheels.
yes,
Richard is mentioning Stargate wheels being found across the planet. That's very, very true. Very true.
yeah. So you could take a purely scientific with the Northern Lights, and this is why it happens, and it's all atmospheric. But we don't know. We know that when people go and witness something like that, or go to a vortex area, like in Sedona, Arizona, just comes to
Oh,
mind.
Sedona, yeah.
A very powerful place where I've been several
Hmm.
times. We're
I love
transformed.
Sedona. Hmm.
Yeah, we're transformed, and I think it's because we're in touch with energies that are both ancient
Hmm.
and our portal. So I think stasis could very well be correct.
So when we go into theta brainwave, if we go
Mm,
into a deep sleep, right? We go into theta brainwave, and let's say, like as myself, if I do get to sleep, I'm working. Okay, I'm working until I set those boundaries. Sometimes I'll have like a family member come through for me and want me to like discuss things, right? Like figure out what's going on, poignant things, right? So, would you say, because I know this happens to a lot of psychic mediums, right? Or working mediums, I should say, that when they go into theta brainwave, do you think that that is actually going into another dimension, the ability to go into a different dimension when in that theta brainwave state? Kind of like astral projection,
hmm
leaving out of having an out of body experience. Do
Right.
you think it could be equivalent to that, in your opinion?
That's been my experience. So not even opinion. I work with theta and delta quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen past lives.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Oftentimes because I'm still working on my attunement, still trying to get that radio to stay on the same station all the time.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
my experience in Theta and especially Delta is I get little snips, little things come out. They're almost like if you were in a train. Okay, so you're on a traveling train and you're going through a series of tunnels. When you come out of those tunnels, you glimpse little things. Oh, there's a farmer, and there's a little town with there's a fireworks or something. So, and I think it's because I'm still journeying. I'm still trying to attune and get a handle on all of this. That's why it comes in that way to me. But I think that's exactly what's going on. The same way that if you were to use DMT or ayahuasca or fly agaric or any of those things. I'm reading right now a really excellent book by Graham Hancock called Supernatural.
I think I've heard of it, actually. I think I've heard of it.
Oh, so good, because it's fairies, aliens, shamans. And what are the, alien abductions?
We have a comment here from Lorraine. Have to go. Must watch this back on replay again. Brilliant evening. Thank you, Rachel, Joey, and Richard.
Thank you, Lorraine. Rachel, I think your experiment is getting legs this time. This is going to work for you, Rachel and friends.
Well, you never know. You never know. Oh, yes, we have some adverts. We'll be right back, everybody.
My Spirit Life is a free online interactive magazine for those who have an interest in improving their spiritual lives. Authors can upload images, videos, and audio clips to their own articles. The public can place comments, rate the article, and follow the author. All articles are vetted before being published. For more information and to place your own article, please visit myspiritlife.co.uk.
Are you planning a paid spiritual event, or looking for something to do this weekend? Then visit myspiritualevents.com. You can browse the listing, view the event details, watch a YouTube clip, look at a mini gallery, select dates and times, pay for tickets using PayPal or your debit card. Organizers can register for free and start selling tickets within minutes, be it for their online or in-person spiritual event. As an organizer, you will have access to your own admin dashboard, which will display information such as your income and your bookings, all in a simple and user-friendly display. It's free to use. Join and upgrade to an organizer. Come and visit us at myspiritualevents.com.
Join Ashley Robinson tomorrow night from 8 p.m. Ashley offers his spiritual philosophy while answering your questions.
Well, hello, everybody, again. Welcome back. We're here with Joey Madia. And Joey, we were just talking about theta waves and delta and working with, spirit guides for psychic mediums and just having that spiritualistic ability to speak with souls, okay? So whether that be parallel dimension, like kind of like skipping over into another dimension, the ability to do that, or if it is in the here and now. And in my own personal opinion, I feel that it's kind of being able to see through what most, we'll say a pagan beliefs, they call it the veil, right? Thinning of the veil. Being able to peer through that veil is the equivalent to being able to peer into another dimension, in my own personal opinion. And would you happen to agree with that?
I do, yeah. In Eastern, it's called the Veil of Maya, and that's how I learned it. And, that the dream is really life and life is the dream, and it gets very complicated. Mm-hmm. But I do believe that that's what it is. And
let me quote Edgar Allan Poe here for you.
Yeah.
Always see or seem is but a dream within a dream.
There you go. That's right.
You know me, Richard.
That's it was a rare moment where I really had to gather my thoughts, because this is, you know, Tanya and I's position is that we shouldn't even be talking about anymore if consciousness survives death. It's kind of a waste of time.
It is.
Because when Tanya speaks to someone and she says, okay, there's a little tin in this green cabinet in this house that you don't live in and you haven't been there in a while, but that's where your grandmother's recipes are. And they go, oh, I was baking today and I've been thinking about my grandmother's recipes. And, you know, so you could say, oh, is it mind reading? Is it some kind of tricks? Why would some kind of trickster entity from across multiple dimensions want to screw with you with grandma's
recipes?
Yeah. I mean, it's so mundane and yet so profound. I think that's what it is. And I will quote Tanya, who says that everyone has these gifts and it's working with them, it's attuning them. But as I will arguably say, folks like yourself and folks like Tanya, it's different. It's like anything. You know, I'm a trumpet player, but I don't, you know, play for an orchestra, right? So we, you know, so
well,
we have.
I am a trumpet player.
You are. That's awesome. We have that in common. There you go.
I told you you're a reader. I told you you're a reader, Joey. Wait, Millie B says, I do agree with Rachel. I have had some very future kind of dreams. I've had a lot of dreams with really big creatures and animals, and I've had spiritual dreams too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tanya has encountered sort of an interdimensional, purely psychic energy version of Bigfoot.
You know, my sister has a theory about Bigfoot being an interdimensional, so she's, you know, very much all about that. We have so much we can talk about here.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll do this again.
I would love to. I would love to, Joey. I mean, I would like to talk about the jinn. I would like to talk about your personal experiences in the paranormal. Also, I would like to talk more about the MIBs, aka the Men in Black, because my own uncle had a run-in with the MIBs.
Ooh.
Okay, and he will not discuss anything about what he saw, but it was enough for him to leave Ohio in the 60s and move all the way to Washington State, to the other side of the country, just pick up his family, and they left. They didn't know anybody out there or anything. That was it. And it was a major, it was a 3-state or 2-state UFO sighting. He was a police. I think you might have heard about it. It went through Mahoning County into Pennsylvania, and that he was one of the police that did all that. That followed them up.
Yeah, and they warn you off. You know, it's funny that you said we're really psychically attuning here now at the end of the hour. I'm doing a show solely on the Men in Black. I'm launching my new series next Thursday night. That would be midnight in the UK. Midnight in the UK.
7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, right?
Right, my new series, Parallels and Patterns, My Lifelong Quest for Answers, and I'm starting with the MIB. Because Tanya and I encountered psychic versions, ethereal versions, who were choking this library that we investigated. Watch out for the hallway. Our 2-year investigation of the most haunted library in North Carolina. And there was this spirit named Jerry. He was an African-American gambler. He was hanging out at the library. We became friends. And they did not want him talking to us one night. It so matched the patterns of MIBs. The ones that got to your uncle, and whatever they said to him, he moved across the country.
Yeah.
It's a very serious subject, clouded by the tricksterism of Gray Barker and other people, and John Keel, but a serious phenomena. For sure.
It was very odd. I was watching the History Channel, and they had a special on that particular thing, and they showed my uncle going in and out of a courthouse and all these reporters and everything, because he was one of the people who said, no, this is what I saw. You can't tell me I didn't see this. Yeah. But then he's gone now. He's passed on now. God love him. But even up to his very last days, he would be like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. That's it.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even bring it up. Nothing.
So that wasn't just some guy in a black suit showing up at his house.
There
was
were
more to it.
There were 3 men that showed up at the house, apparently, and they were men in black. According to my aunt, the way that they were dressed and everything, they fit the bill for men in black.
Did you say there were 3?
3.
That's the classic. That's the classic. They show up in 3s. They did it to Albert Bender, and he shut down his entire saucer investigation bureau. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they come in 3s, and yeah, it's so weird. I'm going to talk about it. Can I mention your uncle on my show next week?
Absolutely. His name was, and I'll tell you his name. His name was Wayne Houston.
Wow, and he was a police officer in Mahoney.
Yeah. In Columbiana. I was actually Columbiana County.
Wow.
And that was back then. You know which sighting I'm talking about? The one where everybody got involved, even the Pennsylvanian. The sheriff, highway patrol, the local police, and it actually, the initial site was in Mahoning County, and it went south into Columbiana County. So it had Mahoning County police, then it had Columbiana County police, then it had Pennsylvania police.
Yes.
Yeah, all over the place.
Yeah, mm-hmm. And I think maybe even Michigan. I think it extended to Michigan. So his name was Wayne
Houston, Huston, Joey.
You know I'm going to be doing some research. Wow. Yeah, that's powerful, and the timing was perfect. So Doctor Who, MIB, portals, and Stargates, move over Santa. I love it.
Oh. Look, she said a bad word. I didn't do it, Richard. Stace did it.
It's just little hash marks.
Well, still, it's implied.
This is a real show. That's what it says. This is a real show.
Okay, sure. We'll go with that, Joey. We'll go with that. All right, this has been fabulous. I love this. I love talking like this. It's so refreshing to be able to talk about all these ideologies. We didn't even get to talk about your books. We didn't get to talk about your escape rooms. We didn't get to talk about half the stuff I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about the difference between American spiritualism versus UK spiritualism, because there is a big difference.
Yeah.
Unfortunate big difference, because it's spiritualism. Why would there be a big difference after all, everybody? But there is, and the approach to it, and also just we have so much. Would you come back again?
Yes, please. I would love that. This has been wonderful. Your audience is wonderful. Richard is wonderful. So yes, please, please. I would love.
All right. We will definitely schedule something, okay?
Cool.
And so everybody, I just want to thank you for joining today and watching. And Aaron, don't feel bad. You can watch it as soon as we end the show. You can go back and you can watch the whole thing. Don't worry about it, Aaron. But I want to say thank you to everybody. I want to say thank you to Joey. Joey, tell Tanya I said hi, okay? And everybody. I will be back in 2 weeks' time, and in that 2-week time frame, I will be doing readings. And then after that, I will have 2 weeks' time after that, the Rachel and Friends show will be back. And I may have Joey on again. It depends on our schedules, okay? But, I mean, for that particular day. So, but everybody...
These comments are awesome.
Let's come back, Stephen King. You should read some of his books, Shelley. Hey, where can people find you to watch you or your books or anything like that, Joey?
Yeah, so you could go to Amazon and just search Joey Madia, Joey Madia, and my author page will come up with all the books, fiction and nonfiction. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all those social media platforms. Would love to connect with any and all of you. And yeah, that's how to do it.
All right. Okay. Oh, that sounds wonderful. Ooh, all right. Should I mention that or? All right. So next time we have Joey on, we will actually be giving away one of his books to a viewer. How do you think about that, everybody? So pay close attention to the Rachel and Friends schedule to see when Joey's going to be back on, everybody. And on that, I would like to say thank you, everybody, for all the input, all the questions, all the interest. Joey, thank you for your time. Thank you for a lively discussion. Or should I call you Steven now? Okay.
Shelly, I'm working on a couple. I'm working on a couple screenplays that might get made. So I'll keep you in mind.
You don't want to be Stephen King anyway. I heard some things when I was in art school about that. You don't want to be him.
Oh yeah, no. But Shelly here saying I love acting if you make a film. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, I'm saying, I've heard. I won't say.
Yeah. No, that's okay. We'll end on a positive.
We'll just leave that. Now everyone's going to be wondering, what was Rachel going to say?
I'll come back next time.
You'll just have to ask me some other time, okay? All right, everybody. Take care of you. And remember, 2 weeks' time. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Good night.